Okay, this is going great. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Allison. I'm a junior nursing major here. I also am part of our leadership team, and although I wasn't up here tonight, I'm typically part of our praise team as well. This is going to be potentially a rough night. I'm going to put this out there now. So tonight we're actually going to be talking about mental health, partially my own journey with it, and how... I'm going to cry already. Cool. Okay. So we're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to be talking about depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. So, trigger warning, putting that out there. If at any time you feel like you need to leave, by all means do so. Don't stay because you're worried about people looking at you. Don't stay because you don't want to hurt my feelings or any of that kind of stuff. If you feel like it's more healthy for you to leave, by all means, please do so. Also, as you can already tell, I genuinely may cry, so there's that. This is my first time talking in this big of a group about my journey and my experiences, so we'll see how this goes. So the way that this is going to work is it's primarily just going to be my testimony. How I've struggled, how God has worked in it, and then we're going to wrap up with just a little bit of a reflection time about some Bible verses, and we're going to see how this goes. So, reflecting back, I've realized that I've struggled with anxiety and depression for pretty much my entire life. I just didn't realize that there was a name for what I was feeling until I got up to about my sophomore year of high school. I love control, and this sounds so bad, but I'm a planner, I'm a scheduler, my planner is 15-minute increments. Like, you mess with my 15 increments, and I'll mess with you. It's fine. I want to control every aspect of my life, how people view me. And honestly, I think that this is one of the main reasons that Satan chose to use mental illness, to impair my relationship with others and impair my relationship with God. I was that kid who, even though I was homeschooled, did my work like the day it was given to me, even though it wasn't due for another week, because goodness knows, I would immediately start thinking about all the different things that could get in the way of it, or go wrong in the next week that would make it so that I wouldn't be able to do it in time, and then if I got a 0 on it, then I'm going to fail it. If I fail, that means I can't go to college as like a second grader. But unfortunately for me, the way that my anxiety works is typically it comes in the snowball effect. It takes something that is so minute as, oh, you have a one-page worksheet due like 2 weeks from now, to, if you like hypothetically died tomorrow, you're going to fail everything. So I would wake up in the mornings and be excited to do school or whatever I had to do that day, but not understand why there was also this weird pit in my stomach of dread for the day. Why I felt like everything was wrong and why I was weirdly just sad. Turns out that that's called depression, but my elementary school self didn't understand what that was or why I felt this way. I felt like I was the only one going through this. I didn't realize that it was not normal to think about the ways that you could die in a day, or think about which ways would be the least hard on your family. I told no one about the feelings that I was having, because A, I thought they were just a me problem, and goodness knows I didn't want anyone thinking I wasn't perfect, because as we've talked about, love me some control, and B, I was supposed to be the happy kid of my family, so I couldn't put any more burdens on my parents, I thought. Some of you may know, I am one of 5 kids. Shout out to my baby bro in the back. I'm also the only extrovert of those 5 kids. I was also the only one with physical health problems of those 5 kids. I was also the only one who was obnoxiously loud all of the time. I apologize to my parents and all of my siblings at this point. I already felt that I was different enough, not perfect enough, and I didn't want to add to it anymore by talking to my parents about how I was feeling. I had my first panic attack my freshman year of high school. I was on my youth group's praise team, and the leader gave me some correction about some little thing I had done wrong, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. It felt like the world was spinning around me really quickly, and there was nothing that I could do to stop it. Nothing that I could do to control it, nothing that I could do to make it stop. I excused myself to the bathroom, and I just laid down on the cool tile floor, and I just cried. Because I didn't understand why I was shaking so much, or what was going on. I finally calmed myself down, and I collected myself, and I put on my good face, which for anyone who has struggled with mental health in the past knows there's always that face when the world feels like it's spinning out of control. You pull yourself together, you smack on a smile, and go, all right, no one has to know what I'm going through right now. I'm just going to hide behind this face of happiness and utter bliss. And I went back to practice. And I told no one what had just happened because not only did I not understand what was going on, but I especially didn't want anyone thinking that I was weak, that I was less than, or that there was something wrong with me. So I put on my mask of having my life together, and I pushed on. I continued to have panic attacks about once a month all throughout high school, and no one knew. Until my junior year, when I had one at home one time, and my parents were home, and I had to sit them down and explain what I had been going through. I was shaking and crying the whole time that I was telling them because I was so worried about how they would react. So worried that I would disappoint them, that they would love me less, because me and my anxious mind kept telling me that no one could love you like this. Better keep all of this hidden because if people find out, they're going to look at you differently. But they didn't. My parents are some of the most gracious people that I know. And when I told them, they didn't judge me at all. They affirmed me in their love, and how that this would define me. But honestly, I didn't believe them. Oh my gosh. Okay. As my anxiety got worse, so did my depression. It started with just seasonal depression. So from about October to like March, when things would start getting dark outside and there was less sun, I would be sad. But that morphed into year-round depression as I've gotten older. Again, I told no one how I was feeling. Because anxiety is one thing, but if I told them about my depression too, I thought that there was no way that people would be able to handle it. My mind would whisper, there's already too much of you to handle. Your personality is overbearing, you have so many health issues, don't add to their load. You're the only one that feels this way, keep it to yourself. So I did, until one day, my dad started talking at dinner to my mom about how his seasonal depression had definitely gotten worse that winter. And my mind was blown. Wait, someone else has experienced this too? It's not just me? Then, that next day, I sat my parents down and I told them. My dad cried because he blamed himself and the fact that all of my mental health issues come from his side of the family. But, as they had done before, they again showed me their love and affirmed that they would always be here for me if I needed to talk. I still wasn't sure if I believed them, but I decided to try a little experiment because the scientist in me couldn't help it. I started talking about my anxiety and depression more with people to see if other people were really also experiencing what I had gone through, or if people were just lying to my face to make me feel better. So the more people I talked to, the more I realized that God had put an amazing support system in my life. The amount of people that He had put in my life to walk alongside with me in my journey, to pray for me, to be there if I ever needed to talk, or just to love me and affirm God's view of me rather than what my head was telling me. And so I started getting better. My senior year of high school, I had only had 2 panic attacks the entire year. I was feeling great. I barely ever had to put on my good face around people because I was genuinely feeling good and not depressed or anxious anymore. But I graduated, I moved to York, and things were okay in the beginning. I had maybe 3 panic attacks my freshman year, and some of that winter I'd been depressed, but I could control it for the most part. I was getting decent grades, and I was like, cool, we got through this, time to move on, we're not going to have to deal with this anymore. Both fall semester of my sophomore year, so last fall, things started getting worse again. I realized that there was a chance that I wasn't going to make it into clinical for nursing in the spring because I had done poorly in a class, and I might not have the GPA that I needed. So I started getting really anxious. Not just like, oh, there's a test coming up, I'm going to like mildly get anxious, but instead it was, I feel anxious and I don't know why. Anxiety for no reason that would spiral into anxiety for 10 reasons. It didn't make sense, but there was enough. But the anxiety was enough to make me have at least 1 panic attack a week, if not more, for most of that semester. About October, my depression started getting worse too. Originally I was like, okay, everything's fine. It's just a little worse this year. We're going to get through it. It's getting close to seasonal depression time. You're fine. But I wasn't. It started getting worse and worse. And I didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't want to admit that there was a problem that I was having issues with again. So I kept it quiet. I didn't tell anyone that I was struggling to get out of bed every morning, or that I was so depressed, that I was so tired during the day that I would fall asleep at work or in class, but as soon as I got in bed at night, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. But I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want anyone to think different of me, and no one knew because I was really good at that point at putting on my good face and saying I was fine and not letting anyone know that anything had changed. So I figured I could just keep pushing on, pushing through, and eventually it would get better, and then it'd be fine. So no one had to know. Not my roommate, not my best friend, not my parents, not my boyfriend. But it just kept getting worse. My anxiety got so bad that I started getting sick to my stomach. It would feel so tightly knotted that I was unable to keep down any food other than like rice, maybe some chicken. My depression kept getting worse and worse, and I began to start thinking about, is it even worth living at this point? I figured, I can't eat. I'm so tired. I suck at being a nurse. That I'm lying to all these people that are important to me. What even is the point at this point? I was in a lot of pain. There's a pretty simple way to get rid of pain. I started thinking about how, hypothetically, if I was going to do it, how was I going to do it? And then I caught myself. And one day I was thinking about how I would do it. And I just realized what I had done. So that night, I was with my freshman year roommate. We were in the library studying. And I told her that I'd been thinking about suicide a lot lately. And that I didn't want to dump all of this on her, but I just needed someone to know. She's there, right there, and it makes me so happy. So I told her what I've been thinking about, and that I needed someone to know, and please don't hate me for dumping this on you, but you're the only one I can tell right now. And we got through it. Oh my goodness gracious, tears are coming off my face. I wasn't going to act on it, but I needed someone to know about it. And that night we both cried a lot. We held each other, we talked each other through it, and we got through it. And you know that I walked away feeling a lot lighter after telling her. And hear me when I say this. That one moment didn't fix everything. But it's fixed some things. There are still times where it gets bad. That I still think about, hypothetically, I could just walk across this street and a car could hit me and it'd be great. But I know that there are people standing beside me to be there if I ever needed them. Flash forward to about a month ago, I had moved on. I still get anxious, but I haven't had a panic attack in about 9 months, praise God. I still get depressed. This last semester was really hard. Winter is really hard. Losing control is really hard. But God is working in my life and showing me that He can pull me through, and He can take away that pain. I still have my bad days, but I'm feeling good. Then, at leadership team, we started discussing our next series, the student sessions. And I told Jonas that I'd be willing to talk about my depression and my anxiety, but made no mention of my suicidal thoughts. And he told me, no, you should talk about it. But if you're going to talk about it, you have to talk about everything. And I told him flat out now. Clearly that worked in my favor. No, I can't do it. It's just something that I'm not willing to talk about. Not going to happen. Good try. Nope. No. But as the meeting went on, God was telling me I had to. So I turned to Jonas, and very annoyed, was like, freaking God says that I have to freaking go and stand in front of a bunch of people and tell them all this crap, and I don't want to do it, but God says I have to, so put me down before I change my mind. So we did. And I was like, all right, screw it, we're doing this, like, let's go. Then we moved on with our meeting, and about 10 minutes later, started tearing up again. I was like, crap. If I'm going to do this, it means that I'm going to have to tell my parents about my suicidal thoughts. I'm going to have to tell my boyfriend about my suicidal thoughts. Because while I had been super open about my anxiety and my depression, there was still something I wanted to hide. Still something that I was really ashamed of and really worried that it would change about what people looked at me like. So you see, even with all of my growth, I was so afraid of what I'd been admitting what I had been going through to the people that I loved the most. Because I was worried about how it would make them feel. When I called my parents, yes please, this is getting bad. Ethan, for the win. Thanks, boy. Alright. So, when I called my parents and Thomas, they all cried. I was the most worried about telling my mom because I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want her to think that she had done anything wrong. And honestly, my conversation with my parents was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. But I knew that I couldn't come here and talk to y'all without telling them, because then I would be a gigantic hypocrite. So, Ephesians 5:11 through 14 says, "Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness. Instead, expose them. For it is shameful to even speak of the things that they do in secret. But when anything is exposed to light, it becomes visible. For anything that becomes visible in light, and therefore, it says, awake, O sleeper, arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." See, we all struggle with sin and the things that we want to hide from God. That we want to hide from people in our lives. Mine happens to be my need for control. My need for wanting to make sure that no one looks at me differently, and my need to appear perfect, to only have people see the parts of me that I want them to see. But I'm incapable of that total control. And so, my shame and fear manifest in depression and anxiety. Your issue that you might be wanting to hide might be gossip, pornography, self-harm, you name it. We're all called to step out of our darkness and move into light, Christ's light, so that we can move out of those issues and into Christ's love. You see, things in the darkness are really easy to hide. It's really easy to pretend that they're not there. It's really easy to say that they're not important. It's really easy to feel shame about the things that you're hiding. And I'll be the first to say that I really didn't want to tell my family about all these issues. I really didn't want to stand up in front of all y'all and tell you all my issues. But in order for anything to change, we have to bring our issues into the light. We have to be willing to stand up and bring them forward so that they can be fixed. Once they're in the light, yeah, it's a heck of a lot harder to hide things. All y'all know what's going on with me now, so I can't really hide from any of you anymore. But in order to change things, they have to be brought into light. Yeah, it's way easier, or it's way harder to hide them, but it's also way easier for people to walk alongside you. It's way easier for them to be able to help you address those issues because they can see you. They can see what's going on in your life and where you might need help along the way. And they know what's going on. Honestly, I'm so glad that last week, Zach decided to talk about accountability. Because as he said, accountability helps you make life changes. Because in accountability, your issues can be brought to light. For me in my journey, accountability has been so important. Because having someone there that I can talk to when the darkness starts creeping in again, and I start hating myself again and hating my issues again, I know that there is always someone there to counsel me, to walk with me, and not to shame me, has been so vital in my healing process. I have a quote to share with y'all. I found it in a coloring book, of all things. But it spoke to me in why anxiety is such an issue. It spoke to me in why worry is such an issue and why it gets in the way of our relationships with Christ. This quote says, "Despite countless what-if situations, Jesus tells us do not be afraid, again and again." Why? Worry whispers God cannot be trusted. Anxiety blinds us to God's presence and goodness. Fear chokes life and faith out of us. The duo of anxiety and fear subtract God from the scene until we begin to believe that you're responsible for holding things together. In response, Jesus echoes the refrain, "Do not be afraid." That's by Margaret Feinberg. Finally, I just want to say, if any of you want to talk about anything, mental health or otherwise, please feel free to come talk to me, to talk to Beth, to talk to Jonas or Andrew when they're here. I love you guys.